Hey everyone, welcome back to Around the Table with the AOTR. I'm Cy Marie here with my co host Beverly L. Anderson. And tonight we are honored to welcome a visionary author whose work dances between myth and memory and is quite exciting as well, Ireland Lorelei. Ireland is the author of Big and Bad, a retelling of Little Red Riding Hood that reimagines feminine archetypes through poetic storytelling. And Ireland, I just want to let you know that it's a joy to have you here tonight. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for being here. We really appreciate it.
Your writing often explores mythic femininity and ancestral memory. What inspired you to begin weaving those themes into your work?
Interesting. So I guess I have done some retellings of some dark fairy tales. It's very intriguing for me just because as a kid, I have always loved Disney movies and still as an adult. So the fairy tales and folklores and retelling them, but retelling them in a way that represents my genre and my trope. And all of my writing is dark romance, and my main trope is all BDSM. So retelling them in a way that brings in all those things that I normally write and gives a optional look on the actual fairy tales themselves.
So, your new book, Big and Bad, blends folklore, fantasy, and psychological depth. How did that concept evolve for you?
Well, Big and Bad is in the series, the Powerful and Kinky Society series that I have. So it's a dark billionaire romance setting with a powerful society that deals with BDSM. So it's book 4 in that series.
So, it's an evocative title, obviously. What does Red represent in the narrative, and how does she reflect aspects of your own journey if you see any of yourself in it, that is?
So the main character in the story. So I guess mainly I see a lot of myself. I write a lot of my books based upon my own dreams, desires, and things that I like to do and things that I have been through in life. So all of my books, even this one, still represents a part of me in some shape or form.
Your prose is lyrical and evocative. How do you approach the balance between poetic language and narrative clarity?
Goodness, that's a very good question. I never really thought about it like that. I guess for me, I don't really think of myself as any type of poetic person. So it's kind of hard to even really look at the balance between poetic narrative clarity and poetic language. I could honestly say because I don't look at myself as any type of poet or any type of poetic language, I really don't know how I actually would balance the difference or the between balance because when I start a book, any book, it's all based out of just an idea, and I play with the narratives throughout the whole book, but never really look at any type of poetic language throughout.
I think what it means to me from what I feel because I'm someone who writes in a similar way is and when I was asked the question myself, I describe it as a writer's waterfall, so it's not really something that you are consciously thinking of, it just kinda comes out the way it does.
Yes, exactly.
And so when people are like, "Well, how do you create that?" Well, I hate to break it to you, but maybe you can't. It's just it's kinda like you develop it and it's there or it's not. It's not quite like every other style of writing, it's just a very unique trait. I think that that's something that does set us apart during this AI world.
I agree, absolutely.
So, you've spoken about the importance of reclaiming feminine archetypes. How do you see this work contributing to a broader cultural healing?
I think for me, when it comes to women in general and the society that we live in, we are still considered second class. And in that, we have barriers that don't allow us to have a voice, have opinions, be strong willed, be able to make our own decisions. So, my female main characters, are always full of strength. They have a voice, they have their own opinions, they make their own decisions. And I think portraying women in a light to where it shows that in a world that still today tries to hold us down is empowering. And even in our fiction writings, we can still show the world that women can and shall be empowered.
All right. So that is really a Beautiful way to put that. So, whenever you write this kind of fiction, how does your mythic lens become a mirror for healing and transformation? Formation, do you think?
Repeat that one more time for me.
So, it becomes a mirror for healing and transformation. Do you think that's accurate?
I do, because for me, even on a personal level, being a survivor of domestic violence, I portray that out in my stories to let the survivorship, not the victimship, but the survivorship come out and showing that we still are strong where we have willpower and we can change our circumstances and we have a voice to speak out.
All right. So, you had mentioned concerns about the current political landscape on different levels. Would you mind giving us some details on that and how reader feedback and your personal lived experience has shaped your perspective as both an author and a person?
Oh, where to begin? First and foremost, I am a huge advocate for several things. One of those being women of domestic violence. So I have written several books about domestic violence, even in my fiction stories, to help advocate for women and to let them know that they're not by themselves. There's also the LGBTQ plus community. I advocate for those on a personal level. You know, my daughter is married to a woman, so that's very close to my heart. And being able to advocate for her in a space and in the space of fictional areas that can be read by the world and give more of a voice there. I'm also a very huge advocate for military. The same daughter is also a Marine veteran. My dad's a Marine, my son's Navy. So I do a lot of storylines that include military, former military, retired military, to also portray all of those and advocate for them and their issues and problems that they have when they come out and let them also have a voice. My kids are also African American, so most of my books are interracial to give that platform of injustice a platform and voice as well.
So that kind of leads into the next question of what do you hope readers carry with them after reading your stories?
I really hope there are empowering and in different areas, empowering these individuals who are biracial, who are in interracial relationships, who are military veterans going through things. When it comes to PTSD, it has them. Women of domestic violence have them. So I do portray them in my stories to let them know that it's okay and there is a way out and there is a way to deal with them and learn your triggers. So I'm hoping that in the realm of even the fiction that I write, that it empowers and heals and brings justice to all of them.
That is awesome, and that is exactly what we are here to do on Authors of the Resistance, so let that be highly elevated for everyone. Shifting a little bit, who are some of the mythologists, poets, or storytellers who have influenced your creative path?
Goodness. I guess one of the biggest ones would be E.L. James. The whole 50 Shades really allowed me to be able to take what I like and what I do and be able to share it with the world in a space that there's no judgment and in a space today that there are a lot of readers that actually love to read it even though they may not partake. Early on, I've been reading since, oh gosh, probably preteens. My parents were still big readers. So I like mystery and suspense. So I think one of the first things I ever remember really reading that I enjoyed was the Nancy Drew series, not to tell my age. um, Judy Blume books, and then it went from that to my mom would share her romance books with me. So I started reading a lot of romance, and Danielle Steele was a huge author that she loved. So they really inspired me to be able to write, and it took me a long time to really make that dream become a reality. It's like even though you have them, there's still that how do you make it happen? Can you do it? And then, of course, with my domestic violence, self care, self confidence, self esteem all went down. And then finally one day I was like, I'm just gonna make my dreams come true. And I thought about all of those people, those books that I had read, those authors, and they had influenced my childhood, influenced my creativity, and just really allowed me to be able to really focus on writing and writing what I wanted to write.
I love that, and, as a person that is also a former domestic violence survivor, I think it's really commendable what you're doing and taking the courage to be inspired by such inspiring, excuse me, transformative writers like Danielle Still. Personally, really relate to that. Anne Rice is more of what got me into that. Same thing with my mom, so
Oh, yeah.
it's, uh it's just always awesome to hear the people that actually pushed you to be that for the next generation, so I'm so glad to hear that. For emerging writers who are drawn to mythic, erotic, and, basically your type of storytelling, what guidance would you offer them?
Research. If you're not a person that is, especially when it comes to erotic, any type of BDSM tropes, any type of anything that is out of the norm, whether it's swingers, whether it is um anything that is out of your normal day to day, research before you start to write. One of the biggest things that I try to encourage is don't write about something that you don't know, and knowledge is power. So if you want to write in a certain area that you are not familiar with, you need to really sit down and take a lot of time to do a lot of research. That includes military, that includes any law enforcement, that includes any type of tropes that are out of your norm. Because if you write something and someone reads it and they see something in it that is not right, like something that could not have actually happened in real life, that just makes absolutely no sense. Um, like if you're writing about Navy SEALs, do research on Navy SEALs. Because if you don't, people that know that stuff and start to read it, you'll lose readers and you'll lose backing, and people will stop reading you because they know you're talking about something that you have absolutely no idea about. If you're going to talk about a story in another country, make sure you research that. Just because we are authors and we have all this creativity, and yes, it is fiction, if we are going to, unless we're making up a world and making up a place, then we really need to research what we're talking about. You can't just write it all down and just think it makes sense. And I think a lot of people today miss that. They miss that even though it's fiction, you still need to research what you're writing.
That is too often too true, I think. So, is there a moment that you could share with us in your writing career that had felt transformative or affirming to what you're trying to accomplish?
I love to tell this story. I talk about my mom all the time and how my mom's a huge romance reader, and Danielle Steele was one of her favorite authors. And when I started writing, she told me that she wanted a copy of every book I write. I already knew what my main trope was going to be, but I didn't know how my mother was going to respond. And so I kind of started out kind of slow. I did like one book was just straight contemporary, a couple of sex scenes, nothing really major. And then I kind of gradually kind of went into small mentions of BDSM. And then I went to small scenes of BDSM until I finally got to the real blown out, let's start it from scratch. It's all BDSM all the way through. This is what the storyline is about. The whole book is about it, the whole series. And my mother has never said anything out of the way, anything bad. She still reads all of my books. And then she gives them to her older sister who reads all of my books. So I think for me, the defining moment wasn't any particular reader that I didn't know. It was my mom as a reader and being able to know that it's good enough for her to read and not judge, or good enough for her to read and she loves them. Like she keeps waiting for the next one to come out. And to me, that says a lot. And To me, her approval was everything.
So, what upcoming projects or potential expansions are you the most excited about?
Uh, So, my biggest series is the Powerful and Kinky Society series, and Big and Bad was book 4. It has up to 7 books coming out, and then I am spinning off on that to the Powerful and Kiki Society Elite Security series. So that is always my biggest and my passionate one. I do have smaller projects, of course. I have some more BDSM straight series coming out as well. I'm also doing a Blood War series, which I cannot wait to dive into. Is vampires, werewolves, and witches. I love that stuff as well. So that one's gonna be really fun to write and how they are fighting for land and space with the humans. So that's another big project that's coming out that I'm very excited about. I get excited about pretty much all of my books, though. I love to write. I love to be able to share my creativity and kind of venture out into other areas. Paranormal romance is a huge thing for me, so I do love that. Even though I don't do as much of it as I do my regular BDSM kind of tropes and dark romance. But yeah, I get real excited about those.
They are pretty fun and exciting, and I'm glad to hear that you're deep in the creativity with a lot coming out of your pipeline. That is really awesome.
Thank you.
So, finally, how do you envision the role of myth and story in shaping future generations and collective consciousness?
I have a passion to teach children at a young age that they can be creative in their writing and that they can have a voice and they can be heard and they can share it with the world. So that's a big passion for me as far as future generations, just paving the way for them and giving them thoughts and ideas and letting them know that they can do it. One of the biggest things, when I was reading all those books, one of the biggest things as a teen and a young adult was, you can't do that. These people, you think that they're just special people that can become well known authors and their books sell. And you never really think the fact that your creativity can really make you be or allow you to be an author and be published and have readers. So I think teaching our generations and paving that path that you can do it. You just have to set your mind to the fact that you want to do it and always, always work on your craft. You can always be better than your next book or than your last book. Sorry.
I mean, getting better for your next book. Either way, you're right.
Yeah,
You are working in progression, right?
absolutely.
It's been really, really awesome to talk to you tonight, Ireland. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, your work is sacred, and it's definitely something that's being woven into the thread tapestry of mythic storytelling. And I just, I'm really glad to hear that you're out here fighting the good fight along with all of us. And I know that you've been a part of the AOTR group for a while. So thank you for actually coming to talk to me and Bev at the table tonight.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much for having me. I really greatly enjoyed it.
Yes. So thank you for bringing all your wonderful wisdom and all that poetical fire to the table, Ireland. We really love it.
Yes, ma'am.